I really feel like AI is not new at all. Like some of the people or humans on Earth, they can't be real humans. Like some of these people are literal robots. Some of these people do not have a soul. If at this point you haven't discovered at all that there is any life force outside of the planet Earth, then we have a rude awakening for us. How many of us feel like life is a simulation? Boom. I know that a lot of people can relate to this, but it's not something that's really talked about because it's kind of like that eerie conversation, but technology watches us. There's a Jill Scott song she's talking about watching me. Like, am I watching the TV or is the TV watching me? Why don't I feel like sometimes that I have privacy? So what is that feeling? Maybe like address that feeling and see where it takes you. Hey y'all, welcome back to Holistic Flow. I am your girl Lolo. This is going to be sort of like a compilation of thoughts that I have randomly every single day. Some of them daily, some of them, minute by minute as I'm navigating through life, of things that may or may not have evidence behind them, but are just things that I feel are very valid and pertain to my life and honestly the world as we know it. Not claiming any of these things to be true, it's just the way that I perceive things. 1, life tries to make you feel dirty and impure. And our purpose here is to try to chase purity or not chase it, attract it and restore it as much as possible. Now we'll never be as pure as, how we were when we were fresh out of the womb, because ever since then, life throws curveballs at us left and right to try to throw us off. We are trying to constantly get back to that joy, that peace, that naiveness, that innocence that we once felt when we were a child. And that's why having a childlike heart is what God ultimately wants us to do. But sometimes we don't feel like having a childlike heart because we want to have a hardened heart towards people, towards situations, because we want to protect ourselves. But ultimately, it is resorting back to that naiveness. It's reverting back to that sense of innocence that you know nothing. And I feel like that's why, there's a saying that like a wise man knows that they know nothing at all. Because when you know that you know nothing and that your mind is wide open to new experiences and new things without assumptions or judgments, that's when we can ultimately learn and grow. And to be open-minded and to be vulnerable and to trust it is ultimately more to our advantage than to our disadvantage. We perceive it's at a disadvantage and we perceive that it's a weakness to be vulnerable and to trust, but it's really at an advantage to us. I have always, for some reason, never been afraid of death. And I say it's for some reason, but I really think I know why. It's because I've always perceived death as sort of a coming back to home. It's like a returning to home. And a lot of people fear it because they feel like they'll die alone or because of the way that they'll die, or that they didn't achieve what they wanted to while we're here. But I just perceive this as kind of like a pass through. It's kind of like a very, very temporary state of being in consciousness that's sort of like an amnesia from everything that we knew before. And seeing people get old, your older family members or even family members that you've known have passed away. Somebody who knows they're in their last few days, it can be difficult to see, but one thing that they may often say is that I'm so tired, I'm trying to hang on, I'm trying to fight. And honestly, that's what we're doing throughout our whole life. We're just fighting. We fighting to stay in this thing. And life is beautiful in my opinion, but it also can be a struggle. Sometimes we overestimate the suffering that we have to go through. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. We don't have to suffer, but we just go through pain. And I feel like suffering is like that longing for something that you don't have, that longing for peace. But the whole point of life is like to teach us patience for that next step, which is ultimately death. I hope that made sense. I just feel like death is like, we'll finally, have rest. Your soul will have rest. And, your soul lives on forever, right? But this body is just physical. It's just a shell through which our spirit is passing. That's why even for those who pass away young, I would say that for us who are still here, it is a hole in our heart, you know, losing somebody that you know, especially if you feel like they went too soon, but know that they're literally in a better place. Like, know that they're literally at rest from this physical strain of living. I feel like Horton Hears a Who is a visual representation of how small Earth is compared to, you know, all of life. We shouldn't stress, we shouldn't get anxious, because there is a whole other universe, galaxy out there that we have yet to explore or discover, and our little self is just one second, minute, millisecond in all of entirety of creation. For those who don't know, Horton Hears a Who was like a Dr. Seuss animated movie where there was an elephant walking through a forest one day, and he heard a little voice, and he looked down on a flower, and on that flower there was a speck, and on that speck there was a whole city of people that lived in, what was it? Whoville. Yeah. So I feel like sometimes we're like in Whoville. We're so oblivious to everything that's going on outside, and in order to have the help, we need that communication from the outside, inside, because we can't feel like we're always stuck in our little bubble of Earth, that we ignore all of the other creation. If at this point you haven't discovered at all that there is any life force outside of the planet Earth, then we have a rude awakening for us, because I just feel like at some point there's going to be some type of boom or some type of something coming toward Earth that thinks that it's welcome here, but Earth is gonna feel like, nah, y'all not from here, whatnot. But we're all God's creation. What if there are other humans out there that we just haven't discovered yet because we're so stuck in our bubble? Sometimes I dog on the media so much, such as like movies, TV shows, getting hooked on things that you can binge watch and things like that. But there's actually a lot of media out there that is very beneficial to expand our imagination to what might be the reality of our life. One of those things is the Truman Show. Way before I even watched the Truman Show, as a child, I always thought that when I would talk to my classmates in school, they were all like having the same surface level conversations. They would all ask me, hey, how you doing? How's your day today? What are you eating for lunch? Great. And I don't know, I was so quiet as a child that I was quiet and awkward, sort of awkward now, but not as quiet. But one of the reasons that I feel like I was quiet is because I was trying to understand why people move the way that they move. And as a child, I don't know what type of paranoia was inside of me that I thought this, but I literally in my head thought that when all of my classmates go home, you know, at their house, they're literally watching my life on a TV screen, and then they're planning on what conversations that they're going to have with me the next day. I don't know. I thought that as a child, I really did. And I never told anybody about it. But when I saw the Truman Show, I was like, wow, this is a real thing. Like, other people think this. It must be that other people think this about their life, because there was a movie made about it. So I feel like there are a lot of movies out there that are, yes, from people's imagination, but they're also very real situations that people feel like are embedded within their life. For those who don't know, The Truman Show is a movie. I didn't even finish my statement. It's a movie. Jim Carrey stars in the movie, and he has like a really generic life. He goes to work every day. He goes to the same building for work. His neighbors say hi to him every single day. The grass is always watered. The grass is always cut. He lives in a nice neighborhood where every house kind of looks the same. And he drives the same route to work every day. And I don't know what triggers it, but some way, somehow, he starts to feel like his life is really repetitive and really mundane. And he started to do certain things or change the ways in which he was doing things to make his routine different, to see if life would still work for him. And it did. So eventually he finds out that there is a whole production company that is surrounding him as the main character in a lifelong movie about him. And there is this whole dome built around his city, who his friends are, who he married, and they're trying to basically have him in this simulation of life. How many of us feel like life is a simulation? Boom. I know that a lot of people can relate to this, but it's not something that's really talked about because it's kind of like that eerie conversation, but technology watches us. There's a Jill Scott song she's talking about watching me. Like, am I watching the TV or is the TV watching me? Why don't I feel like sometimes that I have privacy? So what is that feeling? Maybe like address that feeling and see where it takes you. I really feel like AI is not new at all. And we're led to perceive that technology as advancing in a way that is overcoming the human brain. There definitely can be some truth to that, but really, if we were to look at, movies and media years ago before some of the things were developed, there is a kind of like a track record that kind of predicted the advancement of technology as we know it today. Like, some of the people or humans on Earth, they can't be real humans. Like, some of these people are literal robots. Some of these people do not have a soul. Some of the things and current events that happen are framed for us to perceive it as something that is new and exciting or new and scary. It has to be made out to be that so that people will invest in it and see it as something new and exciting and a trend. Because let's face it, this world thrives off of consumerism, and people will literally wait in a line just because something is new and exciting. On the contrary, a lot of people think that new technology and advancements are scary and it's something that we can't keep up with. So either it's going to be something that's new and exciting and you're going to spend hella money on it just because of the fact that you think it's new, or it's going to be something that you're afraid of, and that is sort of a way for, the ones who are watching, to keep our minds in this state of control. Like, we are always being controlled by whatever's new. And if we don't get with that new thing, then it will overcome us. All of the movies about, zombie apocalypses, they have some truth in them, but it's not really, in the way that it's perceived. It's not in the exact way that like we'll all turn into zombies and, we won't have a soul. Or it's more so that the more that we are mesmerized and indulged in the advancement of technology, that we use it to our disadvantage versus our benefit, it has that potential to change the way our brain is structured. When we see technology as something that is smarter than our human brain, that's when we've turned into a zombie. It's not like a physical, literal sense that will, our skin will start rotting. The zombie apocalypse, I feel like it's happening right now. As technology advances, you either have a choice to see that technology is something that you're going to manually use, but you're still smarter than it, or you're going to allow yourself to be basically a screen zombie and not regulate your own thinking and self-control while you're on the technology, but instead let it consume your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Well, I hope that you enjoyed the video. It's a little bit different than what I usually do, but just thought I'd share my thoughts. And hopefully some of this resonates with people. I mean, I know it will, knowing you all and my audience and the minds of those who consume my content are beyond the surface level way of thinking. Some people will watch this video and be like, what? But others will watch it and know exactly what I'm talking about. So I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, I'm sending peace your way, love your way, and joy to you, your family, and your friends. All right, y'all. Peace.